Well, I mean, how great to be welcoming you to the show again. It's mind-boggling because you're a music fan, as we know we're going to go through some of your favourite records, and you think how you feel about some of your favourite records, and people feel like that about the ones that you've made.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? It humbles you, to be honest, and thank God we've got that sort of that thing happening where new music, old music, as long as it's music, I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, look, let's take the first of your tracks, and I mean, there's, I could take each one of them as the first choice, but I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna go with your choice of The Who, Mick. I mean, you've chosen My Generation, and the more times I hear this track, the more times I think it could have been written yesterday.
Yeah, it's really fresh and vibrant and exciting, and I think the most amazing thing about it is a 3-minute song that is typical Who, and it's got an incredible bass solo in the middle, and in those days you never had bass solos, did you? It was unheard of, and then you put that with Keith Moon's Madness and the power chords, and of course you got Roger Daltrey's first, I've never heard any other vocalist ever stutter. And so that was an earworm and catchy as well, so it had everything going for it, didn't it?
When you saw The Who then at the Manor House pub, had you already picked up a guitar then? Were you already kind of on that journey?
Yeah, we had Spice going, we were actually with a band called Stalkers that went into Spice. We were just kind of in that transition, to be honest, yeah.
And in terms of, if you can cast your brain back to how you felt then, did you let yourself think you might make it?
I don't think I ever had those sort of thoughts. It was just blind ambition, if you would like. We're just going for every moment, and every opportunity, and took it and soaked it up and rolled with it, and eventually, of course, it came good, because I think a lot of it is, you've got to have a passion for it, you've got to have a belief in yourself, et cetera, because there's one saying that I always mention is that, as one door opens, another one slams in your face, but it's your belief to keep walking through those obstacles to achieve your goal, and that's what we were doing.
I'm going to take another of your track choices now, a little bit later on in that decade, not too much later on, but actually another guy who I remember hearing him talk about playing gigs in Finsbury Park. I'm talking about Paul Rodgers and Free. You've chosen all right now. I mean, what do you say about that track? I mean, tell me why you chose it, because it's just wonderful.
Well, number one, it's a fantastic song. It's very minimalist, there's not a lot of overplaying going on, but the groove is just top hole, it's wonderful. And then you've got the bluesy, soulful, rocky vocal of Paul Rodgers and Paul Kossoff, what a player. I actually saw them in Wood Green, and I was standing in the audience. I can remember to this day that the Kossoff was playing in the moment, hair down and everything, playing in the moment. And he'd obviously cut his finger, but the blood was running down to the guitar. But he was so lost in the moment, he was still playing this amazing guitar. And he had the best vibrato ever, on the guitar. And still to this day, there's nobody touches him. It's just pure heaven.
Mick, in terms of your career and the sort of the beginnings of Uriah Heep, it was around sort of 68, 69 that things really took off?
Yeah, around that, yeah.
Obviously, you were a fan as well as a musician, but it must have been, A, really exciting, but B, really hard work.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it was one of those situations where you played everywhere, and then you slept in the van, or you put the fee money into the petrol tank so you get to the next gig, and quite often, even though you had an agent, you used to find out where you were playing in the newspapers like Melody Maker and New Musical Express and Sounds. You pick it up and go, oh, we're playing there this weekend. It was just one of those times. I can remember when we played the Marquee, and David and I, David Boyd's dad's fool called Tina, and we drove up to the Marquee, and there was a line going right around the Marquee, right around the block. And we thought, we've got the wrong day. So we phoned up our agent, and we said, it was Neil Warner of the agency at the time, and we phoned him up. We said, Neil, what's going on? Have we got the wrong day? We're going to the wrong day. He said, no, it's for you. You've broken the house record. And we went, wow. wow, we give each other a big hug, and proudly walked in there and did a great show, and it was just amazing to those little things are the things where you think, well, actually we're making ground there, actually breaking through.
Let's take another of your track choices now. I'm gonna pick some Kansas. Oh, well, you've picked it. I'm gonna go with your choice of Kansas next. You've picked "Carry On, Wayward Son." I mean, this is a huge rock anthem. But what does it mean to you? Why is this one in your list?
Well, I particularly like it. I got to be honest. The thing that got me initially was the riffs. He goes down to a nice harmony parts, and the great vocal of Steve Walsh. He's singing quite high, and they're really a great band. You can tell from that song they're a great band, and the musicianship is of the highest caliber. Especially in those times.
One thing I did want to talk to you about, Mick, was the great Jeff Beck, because you were one of the people I thought of when I heard the awful news that Jeff had gone, because we've spoken before about him being your kind of, someone that you really, really admired. Rather than talk about the sad bit first, what was it about Jeff Beck that about his playing that you loved? What was it?
Well, I even like the cheesy Hi-Ho Silver Lining, to be honest, and his stuff with the Yardbirds, where he was using like the sitar type sound, so he was always groundbreaking and moving into those areas that nobody else had really touched. But generally about him, the album, there's two albums, Truth and Beckola, back in the 70s, I guess it is. They were just fantastic albums, and it had Rod Stewart singing. And I don't think he ever sang any better than that when he was playing, Ronnie Wood on bass, and Mickey Wall on drums and Nicky Hobson on piano. And it was like they all got into the studio and just went for it, jammed, and it was just also, it was chills, every time, And then with Jeff Beck, he moves from there and then he goes on to other areas, jazzy areas, fusion. He embraced everything. But every time he embraced it, he brought something fantastic with it and new to it. The funny thing is, and this is the truth, I've never sat down once and tried to play one of his licks. I only ever just listen as a fan, and it's amazing, really. But it just inspires me in every respect.
It's just wonderful it's awful once someone has died that you have to kind of go back and revisit what they've done to say how great they were. But of course, his records are still there. So he still is, that's it. He's there forever now.
The music will come forever. Yeah. And inspire other musicians forever. 1,000,000%.
Very much so. I know I heard a lot on the news of people saying where is the next Jeff Beck? Is that allowed to happen in music anymore? I don't know. That's kind of one of those discussed things. But, he was very much of the opinion of, he wasn't particularly impressed by himself, was he? He wasn't like, he used to sort of take 6 months off and build a car, didn't he?
No, he wasn't one of life's show-offs, was he? In fact, he came across really shy, even when he talked on the microphone, it was kind of, what's he saying? Because he just mumbled it, but, his guitar spoke everything.
I'm going to take another of your choices now, and another just incredible British legend, legendary British band, really, the Small Faces. I mean, you've chosen Lazy Sunday. I have to smile. I feel like I'm smiling when I say it because it's what
That's exactly
tune.
Why I chose it. Honestly, I was born in Walthamstow, East End of London, and Stevie puts on the old voice there, and he sings it in Cockney, really. And with lines like "Call Blimey, Ella, Mrs. Jones, how's your birch lumbago?" and "He mustn't grumble," it's just amazing. To get that in a song is just incredible, and I love it. And I saw him I first saw him on 1965, I think it was, in Ready Steady Go, and I remember seeing him for the first time, and there's little Stevie there with a big white Gretsch guitar. It was twice as big. It was too big for him, to be honest, But the guitar was matched by his voice, and he had so much energy. And also, I have to say at the time, because the Small Faces were quite dressers in the day, and David Byron and myself, we went, hang on, where do they get all their clobber from? So we ended up going down Carnaby Street and spending half our life down there getting the same clobber and going to the same shops, you know.
But they were so sharp. They were so sharp.
They were, you know, they were very sharp, you know. I mean, they were very mod, and we were far from mod, but, you know, that's where you went to get all those wonderful clothes at the time, you know.
Now, when I caught up with Mick last year, the band's latest album, Chaos and Colour, had just been released, and I asked him about the reaction to what was their 25th studio album.
At the moment, it's getting rave reviews everywhere. You know, people were saying that it's almost one of the best of our career. And when you're 50 years down the line, that's quite an accolade. So when we had the lockdowns, you know, we're doing stuff by FaceTime, by Zoom, by whatever means we could, and sending ideas across. And then, of course, wait 2 or 3 days, we send, you know, his ideas across. And it was a bit of an unusual way of doing it. But, you know, nevertheless, I think we come out with great results because of it. But then, the minute the government said we could all be in a room together and everything, we were phoning our producer, Jay Russ, and said, can you come over from LA? We said, right, let's book the same studio, same producer, let's go in and nail it. So we had a little bit of pre-production when we chose all the songs. And I think because of that, the album's come across really, really strong. And we embrace rock. We've got a ballad. You know, we got, I think, 2... which you consider progressive song, you know, 8 minute longs and stuff like that, progressive rock songs. So it's kind of got everything. And at the moment, it's been received brilliantly well. And I hope that continues, you know.
Well, that's the amazing thing to me, Mick, as well, because you just said there, like, Uriah Heep really were and still are, you know, a blueprint for nobody does it like you guys did or do. And I know I speak for, you know, so many Planet Rock listeners who are absolutely thrilled that there's a 25th Uriah Heep album, and they're hoping that there will be a 26th. I hope you're already thinking about it.
Writing it now, you know. So, you know, we never stop writing, Liz. So, you know, it's a continuous process.
Well, Mick, long may it continue. Long may Uriah Heep continue. Congratulations on an incredible album with Chaos and Colour, and thank you so much. Come back to My Planet Rocks again.
Happy days. Thank you very much, Liz.